Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? My name is Denonu, and in this video, I'm going to be sharing my opinion on Godzilla versus Kong. And just right out the gate, I will say the movie was okay. I loved it once it got into the fighting and stuff like that. But I will say this isn't a movie that's gonna completely change or completely blow your mind away, in that kind of respect. It's not going to change the way movies are made. It's not going to change the way the genre is made and that kind of sort of a thing. It was just a good movie. Great when it came to the action scenes and the monsters and stuff like that. When it comes to all the human stuff, not so much. This, I guess you can kind of say, review is going to have spoilers and stuff like that. So just be aware of that. I'm going to jump into it, and we're going to talk about the movie probably in length. I'm going to still try to keep things short, probably around 10 minutes, maybe 15 if I tend to ramble, but let's jump into it. Right out the gate, I was kind of worried that they was going to have my monster of choice, Big G, the king of the monsters himself, lose based on the trailers and stuff like that. Me and my friend, made a few podcast videos talking about it, and it's one of those things where it could go either way depending on who's making the movie. If Japan was making the movie, then I would, of course they would let Godzilla win. If Americans were making the movies, they would let Kong win. It could go either way, and that's how the trailers have been, I guess, promoting the materials and everything. But no, Big G Molly Wops Kong's monkey ass. And I loved every minute of it. I thought there was going to have one of those, things where it's like, okay, you win round one, you win round two, and then, like, oh, here's the main bad guy, and they got to team up. And that's exactly what the movie was. The one fight scene that you saw on the aircraft carrier, that was one where I was going to be like, okay, I think they're going to give it to Kong. The trailer started out strong with Kong punching Godzilla, but they cut it. They cut it. They didn't show where like Godzilla came and smacked Kong off of his feet, And during that whole fight, I was just expecting Godzilla to use, or lose rather. Let me talk like I can actually pronunciate my words. But that was not the case. Godzilla, pulled him into the water, and Kong, he actually drowned him. Or almost drowned King Kong. And then once they got to the city at the end, it was kind of like an even kind of matchup, and I thought they would give it to Kong. Kong, got a couple hits in, but that was the big axe scene in the trailer when he came down with the axe and everything. And I thought that they were going to just straight up give that to King Kong, right? And they, I forget what happened, but like Kong whooped on Godzilla a little bit, knocked him down to the ground. And then Godzilla got back up and just beat Kong's ass and stomped on his chest, roared in his face and everything. Pretty much made him submit. Although I will say that Kong kind of roared back in his face, but he didn't get up, YouTube, just saying. So we all know who won that fight. And then that's when Mecha Godzilla came in, and I'm just gonna be honest, like, I thought this movie was about Godzilla and King Kong. No, this movie was about Mecha Godzilla. Once he wakes up, he just goes ham, whoops Godzilla's ass the whole time he's on screen. Like, I thought it was going to be one of those things where it's like, okay, Godzilla's going to get his hits in. No, no, YouTube, no. Mecha Godzilla went in on his ass whooping. The ass whooping was so bad. Even when it panned to like other characters giving exposition about what was going on and showing what Kong was doing, in the background, you just seen Godzilla getting slammed through building after building, getting his head pushed in the building, slammed to the ground. He like Mecha Godzilla even had like this jetpack thing where he would jetpack up and slam Godzilla into the ground or into a building or something. It was fucking great. But outside of the action scenes, I will say this movie is just exposition city. It's it's one of those things where it's like they want to give all the time to the monsters, and all the human stuff doesn't really matter. You had Millie Bobby Brown in there. I think that's the lady's name. And her character didn't have to be in there. The fat chubby kid from Deadpool 2, he didn't have to be in there. You could have just had the black guy in that role, the one black guy that's in the trailers and everything. But I guess you got to give him somebody to bounce off of. So, you had to have somebody. Millie Bobby Brown's father in the movie, the guy from King of the Monsters and stuff, he was just in it for 5 minutes. Like, he didn't have to be in there. It was just one of those things when it's like the only time the humans were on screen was just to explain, like, oh, this is where we got to go, or this is how we got this anti-gravity technology. This is why we got to do this. This is why we got to do that. That was all it is. So that's why I said this movie was just okay. Outside of the fight scenes, which were done great, the special effects were done great. Certain things in this movie just didn't have to be there. Another one, the whole Hollow Earth segment that I thought was going to be a thing, but it didn't have to be in there, honestly. Nothing happened in that Hollow Earth part. Other than the fact of King Kong going home. I guess if you want to call that his home, because for some reason he's not on Skull Island anymore, which was his home. So I don't know what happened there. They kind of glossed over it, but they're going there to try to find this new energy source that Apex can use to say, they want to use it to combat Godzilla because he's going around killing everything. But they just want a power source that can power Mechagodzilla. And the Hollow Earth has this mysterious power that gave birth to all the Titans. It was just some expositional bullshit, basically. So they go down there, they find it. The only important thing that they bring back, I guess you can say, is, I swear to God, it didn't make no damn sense, but I'll talk about that in a minute. They bring back the energy source, and that's where Kong gets his axe that he uses in the last scene. Outside of that, it had no purpose other than just expanding the lore to say where these monsters come from. And I thought that was kind of shitty. I mean, if you're going to have an explanation, have it be a plot reason to go there other than just, oh, we need to go there and do this. It's like, have a point to it. Maybe in the future, maybe this is where they're going to explain, like if they make more movies, maybe this is where they're going to explain where they get the, more monsters from. Maybe that's the explanation. But as far as in this movie, what they showed, it was kind of just, there was no reason to go down there other than just to get that energy source. And Kong's axe was a second thought because they didn't even know it was down there. But that's where he does get that too. They get the energy source. And when I was watching the movie, I thought that it was going to be one of those things where it's like, okay, they're going to go down into the Hollow Earth, get the energy source, and bring it back. Like it was a magical MacGuffin or like a power sphere or something, like some kind of ancient battery that they can use to plug in a Mechagodzilla and use it. But no, I kid you not. Kong gets his axe because it's lying there on the ground. Now, they never make a mention why, but Kong's axe can, let's say, absorb radiation. And absorb, I guess, radiation or power, as it were. It's like a battery, I guess you could say. So after he charges up his axe and they find, the energy source, so to speak, that's when they have Apex has these little crab-like robots that go, and I guess I thought they were gonna like hack a piece off and take it, but no. What they did is like they scanned the energy source and somehow sent the energy signature back all the way up on the planet in Hong Kong, where Apex was keeping Mechagodzilla, and that somehow allowed them to power it. Right, and that was the part when even when I was watching, I was like, "That's stupid." Just because you can scan an energy signature does not mean you have the power source or energy that you need. That just tells you what it's being made of, or what kind of form it takes, whatever. That's not the same thing as having it. But I guess in this movie's world, that's what that means, because that's all they did. They never brought it back to Hong Kong. Because I figured they show a scene of the guy who runs Apex. His daughter went down with him. And they have a scene where she tries to get away. And that's what I thought. I thought she was going to get away and go back to Hong Kong and be like, okay, we have the power source. Here it is. But no, Kong grabs her little shuttle thing and destroys it. So they never make it back with the power source. But yet they still have it, the power Mecha Godzilla. It just felt super contrived and plot convenienced. Thought that was kind of stupid because you could have written that better. You could have had her get away and, like I said, actually give it to them. But that didn't happen. Outside of that, I felt the beginning of the movie was kind of boring. You have a Godzilla scene within the first 5 minutes. But then after that, it jumps to that whole boat segment that you see in the trailer of them shipping King Kong to Antarctica, by the way. That's where they were going. And that segment was like a good 20 to 25 minutes before anything happened. So it was kind of like, I was like, okay, well, when is the fight's going to kick in? And then that's when you had the fight when Godzilla shows up and, you know, they have the fight on the aircraft carrier. So after that, the movie was pretty much okay. You know, that boat sequence and that Hollow Earth sequence was the slowest parts of the movie to me. And that's pretty much all it was. Those are your main set pieces. You have the Hollow Earth, the boat, Hong Kong at the end where the big action scene is. And then you have a lot of other in-between set pieces of Millie Bobby Brown, the black guy, and the fat kid from Deadpool pretty much sneaking their way into Apex. I don't know how they did it because they're the most bumbling idiots ever. And if Apex had any kind of security, they would have been on point. But no, they magically sneak their way into their facility and get caught onto this underground tunnel maglev trolley thing. And they don't know what it is when they go into it, but they lock them in there and it basically has certain components that they're going to use for Mechagodzilla. And they ship them from, I want to say, somewhere in the US to China. So they're stuck in this thing for like half the movie. And then once they get there, they get caught, and that's when you see, you know, the King Ghidorah skull and stuff like that. And they pretty much right then and there, they explain what it is. It's like, I can see, they show you the skull. You can see what it is. But no, the black guy just has to come out and be like, oh, it's this, it's reading their neural templates, blah, 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 blah. And he's just explaining exactly what you're seeing. And it's like, I hate that when they do that in movies. It's like, I get it. You have to show that for the regular generic people, but like, come on, have better writing. That's why I said the human parts of this movie it's just all exposition. There's no character development. There's no plots. There's no nothing. This movie is just basically the fight between Kong and Godzilla. And I get that. That's the draw. But if that's going to be the draw, how about this? How about not have the human parts in the movie? How about that? Because otherwise it's just kind of pointless. You know, we as the audience, we can see, okay, they're using King Ghidorah's skull. Oh, they have a guy sitting inside the skull. Okay, he's controlling Mechagodzilla. We can see that, you know, because they're showing it to you in the movie. We don't need the explanation of what we're seeing because it's kind of like, as we're seeing it, it's stupid as hell. But given all that, you know, to wrap this all up in a bun, I will say, even with the exposition, it's still an okay movie. And that's coming from, I'm a fan of all the old school Godzilla movies, and King Kong, I can't say not as much. I've seen the last King Kong movie I saw was the Peter Jackson one that came out in the early thousands. Didn't really impress me a whole lot. And I saw little bits of Skull Island. I saw like half of Skull Island, but outside of that, I'm not a huge Kong fan, but it looks like they did him justice in the movie based on from what I know of the character and stuff. They tried to make him seem more of a challenge to Godzilla because, and honestly, Godzilla would just smash on King Kong because of just the size difference alone. A lot of people don't realize this, but Godzilla is like thousands and thousands of tons. That's how much he weighs versus King Kong, which was, I think, even in Skull Island, is only 100 feet. You know, so he's kind of outside of his weight class. But in this movie, they mentioned that it was like, okay, he's grown since then, so he's now, I guess you could say, almost is more of a match for Godzilla. But even in the movie, he was still, getting hurt because he can't defend against Godzilla's radiation blast and stuff like that. But they let him get his own few hits in and stuff like that. So I know a lot of people who are Kong fans specifically who want to see Kong win. They're going to be upset by this movie. But outside of that, the movie was okay. Would I spend money to see this in the theaters? Me personally, I would. I'm not afraid of COVID like that. But if you're somebody who's afraid of COVID or let's say worrying about that, then I would say hold off. This isn't one of those things where it's like, oh, I have to go risk my life to see this movie. Definitely not. Definitely not. If this was like Marvel's Endgame, I'd be like, yeah, this is worth a few years off my life to see this movie. But this is not that. Definitely not that. If I had to rate this movie out of a 1 to 10, I'd probably have to give it a good 8. So where it's good, it's not super, super great because the writing wasn't there. It's just exposition, like I said. But it's still good enough to get me in the seats and I liked what I saw. As far as the monsters and the fights and stuff like that. I hated how we had to get there to certain parts. But once you got there, it was on point. That whole ending fight scene between Godzilla and King Kong, and let's say Godzilla getting his ass whooped by Mechagodzilla, that was fucking epic. And then you had the last little bit. I thought Godzilla and Kong would team up against Mechagodzilla, but that wasn't the case. It was just merely Kong fighting Mechagodzilla, and I think Godzilla helped him out a little bit. But they didn't really team up or anything like that. But they did have a really cool moment at the end where they both looked at each other and Godzilla was like, hey, look, I'm about to fuck you up if you don't put that axe down. And then Kong dropped the axe and Godzilla just kind of like turned around and left. So if I had to pick a winner based on what I saw, it would be Big G, King of the Monsters himself, Godzilla. He definitively won. So now we can squash all the trailer comments and stuff like that about King Kong winning because it's obviously he didn't. Unless, they come out with a different version of the movie later and then, that changes the story, but who knows? But anyways, fellas, that's just my opinion on Godzilla vs. Kong. Tried to keep it a little bit short. I didn't want to explain too much, but I just wanted to get my points across with what I like and what I dislike, and definitely about the exposition, because that's like 90% of the movie. But if you guys want me to give my opinion on anything else, whether it be comics, movies, anime, anything at all, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see if I can make it happen for you. So I will see you guys later, and be safe out there. Later.